So in non-duality, there's a big deal made about story. Oh, that's a story. It's just a story. You say about something to point out that it isn't true, it isn't real. You say, okay, that's just a story. My life is just a story. Anything that the me comes up with to assert and say this is real, it's pointed out, no, that really is just a story. Okay, so but what does that mean? What is the story business? The story, that word story, which again it's used to point to what isn't real, what isn't true, what isn't. We say there's just this as it is, no story to it. There's no story in just this. So, and then the story is told about just this, and we say, well, no, that's not just this, that's a story. So the story is just a word to mean something that is added on to just this. But what it is, I mean, how it operates, how it works, is that there's just this, and that's clear and obvious and simple, and nothing else needed for just this. But the me energy adds a story onto just this. The way that works is that the story takes just this and makes it into something. And that's really the key of it. The me energy can't do anything with just this, because just this is nothing. So the me energy takes up nothing, sees nothing, and adds a story to it, and produces something out of the story. So that's where the me lives in its own story. It lives in a world of something, a world of things, a world of real things happening, because they all have a story. And the story is what, again, is added to nothing, just say, to create the sense, the reality, create the sense, the apparent reality, right? Create the sense of something. So it's almost like, a simple recipe, simple cooking. Take nothing, add a story, and you have something. You have an experience, a real, so-called real experience. So, and when the me energy, let's say the me, looks at nothing, which is what is, looks at just this, it sees whatever it sees. It sees my life. It sees all the things that are happening in my life and all the things that I know about. Because it adds the story to it, to everything, to this, to just this. Again, the story is how the reality is created. How you could say knowledge is another word for the story. This knowledge is added, and they're all of a sudden, voila, you have an experience, and I have my life, and it's up and I'm running and in full swing because of the story. And the story is what gives it life as something. but it's really not life. It's just it's the story. The me, which is a story itself, but it's just the way it works. So the story takes on a life of its own, essentially. Doesn't have life in it, but the illusion is that life comes out of the story, and the whole world comes out of the story. So when I get up in the morning and I see the world, I'm seeing the story, the me illusion, built up into a story, and it's always running. And it's always of the same form, because this story always has a structure to it, which is the me in the middle of it, separate in the life, and the me is moving to get satisfied, to get complete, to get whole, to get okay. Essentially to heal its condition, which is separation. And every story is made out of those basic ingredients. So that's what's going on. You get up in the morning. I say get up in the morning. It's been going on through the dreams. It's been going on forever. I mean, since this me reality came into view. It's always telling its story. It's running the movie. Again, the movie isn't here. The me function creates the movie, creates the story, creates the world out of nothing by adding the story. Just saying, by turning it into a story, seeing it as a story, creating a story. So, whatever the me tries to do in the story never has an effect, because it's just the story essentially playing with the story. Where's that going to go? It's not going to go anywhere. It just keeps building more and more story. Sort of like, this is not a very politically correct image, actually. I was going to say the tar baby, just from Uncle Remus stories. Some of you might know those. But, I guess it's Brer Rabbit, or one of those folks gets into a fight with a tar baby, a little doll made out of tar, and he's fighting it, and the harder he hits it, the hand sticks to the tar, and he gets more and more entangled. The more he fights, the more entangled he gets. So that's the image anyway. But that's what the me is. The me is fighting with my own story. Every move I make, the more I do, I just get more and more entangled into the story. There's no way of getting out of the story by doing more story. Getting out of the story is what I'm looking for. I'm trying to be free. That's the inner motivation for the me, is to be free of this condition, which is unfree, in the middle of freedom, in the middle of just only freedom. I'm feeling unfree and trying to punch my way out, but I just get more entangled in the tar, in the story, right? And that isn't happening. There is only just this. The me illusion, all the stories that are built up. And of course, the stories get more and more complicated, more complex. But there isn't anyone in there building the story. There isn't anyone that the story's about. There isn't. It's just an appearance. It's just an illusion. There's only this with no story. And no story gets attached to this. You know, this whole big structure, this big edifice of my life and my story gets built up, but it gets built up in its own story. It doesn't actually get built up in this. Nothing gets built in this. This is just nothing. It's everything that it appears, but it's not amounting to anything. There's nothing being added to this. Stories can be built up all over the place, but they never change with just this. Because just this is just this. It's not getting built. It's not moving. It doesn't move with all the stories. And this is what is. This is what you are at every point already. Not going anywhere, not getting better, not getting worse, not threatened, not hopeful of some great possibility. It already is. And there's no story to that. Again, all the stories have all the stories of getting better and all the stories of hope and getting worse and dying. That's all the story. It doesn't affect anything, doesn't affect what's here, what's just here. So that's it.